Humanity is exceptionally lucky it exists at this point in time in the Earth's history. Currently, the human race as a species is at the top of the metaphorical and literal food chain. We have impacted the world in a way that no other animal ever has or potentially ever will. One could argue that humans are the most dangerous animal on Earth. And there's a ton of us. But what makes this so fascinating to me is that there are not many instances in the Earth's history where this would have happened. Some people think that even if humans came about sooner, they still would have prospered the same way they do today. People do tend to overlook what used to exist on this planet. The reason humans are so lucky to be alive at this point in time is because what used to roam the Earth would not let humanity get to where it is. Prehistoric emergence. Created by AZUNStudios, started on July 5th of 2024 and continuing to this very day. This analog horror series paints a story about prehistoric animals suddenly returning to the modern day world, showing how it would affect the population, ecosystem, economy, and even the government. But most importantly, this story shows how the human race would naturally respond. It opens with an EAS alert, warning the viewer to not go into the ocean. Something bizarre about this alert is that it's not giving a specific area this warning. Instead, it seems to be cautioning anyone who sees the broadcast, demanding residents in coastal regions to evacuate alongside any fishing or ocean activities to be avoided. The reasoning for this is because according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they are getting reports of unprecedented, dangerous marine life. But in an unbelievable circumstance, the marine animals consist of those which were believed to be extinct. Yet suddenly they are reappearing throughout the ocean. The broadcast says they don't know how or why this is happening, but it seems a sinkhole-like formation in the ocean floor is speculated to be the origin point of all of these ancient animals. It then goes on to describe some of the animals which have been noted as more dangerous to encounter. These include the Mosasaurus, the Dunkleosteus, and the Megalodon. Something of note is that these animals are not from the same periods or eras of the world. The Dunkleosteus was one of the first vertebrate apex predators from hundreds of millions of years ago, while the Megalodon only came to be 20 to 23 million years ago, approximately. The broadcast then goes on to describe the activity and locations each of these dangerous animals have been spotted in. At the time of this broadcast, a few human lives have been lost due to the presence of these animals. But another problem that I didn't even consider is that these animals are interfering with the modern day ecosystem. Megalodons are eating damn near everything in the ocean, they're huge, and unfortunately the fish in our modern day ocean simply aren't enough to satiate it. The broadcast says if they are not dealt with, the ocean will soon be barren, and our food security and economy will be significantly weakened. Authorities are trying to put a cap on the situation, but that is clearly going to be a challenge. The broadcast ends by saying,
"For now, the ocean is no longer in our control."
Another broadcast goes up sometime later, giving out the terrifying news that the resurgence of prehistoric creatures was not limited to the ocean. Just like the sinkhole we spotted in the ocean, the land has also had its fair share. In this episode, we are given a name to the news station, titled AZUN News. Now, this episode is very similar to the previous one. It shows animals that were once extinct and tells us their behavior, but this time something curious has happened. Up until this point, it looked like only predator animals were re-emerging. But alas, the first herbivore has been spotted, the woolly mammoth. They've been shown to not be aggressive to humans unless provoked, but of course, the first thing humans did whenever they saw a rather docile animal is follow in the footsteps of their ancestors and mass hunt the fucking mammoths. It's here that we're shown that this emergence has been happening for quite some time, enough to where we can see just how people are responding to this. The tusks of mammoths are being sold for high prices, the Toronto Zoo prides itself in being the first one to have a woolly mammoth, and the megalodon issue is slowly being solved by the emergence of the Leviathan. It's a big ol' whale. This seems to be one of the few things in this emergence this far that can go toe-to-toe with a megalodon. So long as they keep battling, the ocean ecosystem should be a bit more stable. Then there is a rare instance where an American news broadcast actually covers shit happening in other countries. For example, Colombia and India are experiencing the reemergence of giant prehistoric snakes. Of the snakes, the one that the news broadcast seems to point out is the Vasuki indicus. In real life, a somewhat recently discovered prehistoric snake that not only is one of the biggest fossilized snakes ever found, but it is also named after the serpent that is wrapped around the neck of the Hindu god Shiva. That snake is also referred to as the King of the Serpents. I can't see a better fitting name for this giant prehistoric snake. Due to how hectic things have become, an organization titled the Global Prehistoric Affairs Commission, also known as GPAC, is created in hopes of having better control over the situation. But that is easier said than done. Not knowing what else to really do, a bunch of governments start discussing plans of bombing the formations so they could stop more animals from coming through. But something tells me we don't have enough bombs. The next episode opens with multiple different broadcasts, one saying fishing boats are being capsized near the coast of Portugal, implying that even in the shallow ends of the ocean, you're not safe. Homes in Australia have had megalania nests and eggs under the foundation, which isn't good, and Montana possibly getting the worst news.
Mass panic has spread across the entire state as a dangerous creature that we all hoped would stay extinct has reemerged. This creature is known as the Tyrannosaurus.
It cuts off before he can finish his sentence, but he was definitely going to say that the Tyrannosaurus Rex has re-emerged. Yeah, maybe we should have tried exploding the formations before these fuckers came through. GPAC revealed the plan to blow up the openings, but it was abandoned after horrifyingly realizing that more holes were opening faster than they could deal with it. Instead, GPAC has decided to, and I quote, adapt to the emergence, offering assistance to relocate any citizens within 1 mile of the formations. How thoughtful. Suddenly, Texas is now getting a similar rude awakening. Texas is experiencing the reemergence of the Quetzalcoatlus northropi, and this is what those things look like. They begin listing off traits about this pterosaur, how to defend yourself against it, what they target, how they attack, and unfortunately, what they've already done. Namely, how in Frisco, Texas, a 12-year-old kid named Isaac Ramson was snatched up by one of the Quetzalcoatlus, never to be seen again. The tension on land is getting just as bad as the ocean. In other news, the Toronto Zoo's woolly mammoth named Oompy caught what they said was tuberculosis and passed away. A prehistoric animal died from a modern disease? So now, the main attraction at the zoo is the mammoth's son, Oompy Jr. It doesn't seem that important now, but it comes back up. Meanwhile, back in Australia, the megalanias have begun to hatch, and have gotten so out of hand that GPAC placed a bounty on them. However, the news station disavows this, due to the return of the Thylacoleo. This lion-like animal is speculated to have the strongest bite, pound for pound, of any mammal that has ever lived. So yeah, a bit of hunting complications, the bounties not being fulfilled, and the rise of this. Needless to say, the environment of Australia is suffering. The station then goes on to show that the Brachiosaurus has come back, attracting visitors from all around the world. That line alone not only tells you how some people are reacting to the prehistoric emergence, but also how how stupid humans are. The Brachiosaurus obviously being such a big animal that is a herbivore, there are concerns that trees on our modern day planet are not enough for their appetite. GPAC doesn't seem to care about that too much, mainly because Montana is in a dire need of assistance. Billings, Montana has experienced a massacre. 313 casualties have taken place as 19 T-Rexes all strangely simultaneously attacked in Montana. Whenever GPAC arrived on site, the T-Rexes, as stated by AZUNStudios, vanished. GPAC somehow wasn't able to track where these giant dinosaurs had marched off to. The news broadcast states nothing on land can oppose the T-Rex, and as it stands, it's at the top of the food chain right now. Suddenly, the broadcast is interrupted by the interference shows the statue of one of the most vital deities in ancient Mesoamerica that goes by the name Quetzalcoatl. This is the ancient god that the Quetzalcoatlus are named after. Quetzalcoatl is kind of a difficult god to give a label to. What I do know is that he is represented by a feathered serpent, but what becomes a bit more difficult is what exactly he represents. Depending on the region and time period, he is either associated with creation, nature, fertility, the sun, the sky, rain, wind, and wisdom, arts, knowledge, and agriculture, or being associated as the creator of all. A lot of sources say many different things, but rest assured that he is highly regarded as a benevolent deity. Now, you may have heard some audio play whenever the interruption was on screen. The audio that plays is unintelligible. That is, until you reverse it. Multiple times during the broadcast, there will be these little glitches that show these quotes on screen that are very ominous. For example, during the coverage of the massacre in Montana, text shows up that reads, "The tyrant punishes us." Earlier in the episode, where it showed that diagram of a hunter getting taken out by two Thylacoleo, a small bit of text reads, "Lions of Judgment." This quote being something religious. This is actually something from an Old Testament of the Bible. There's this story in 2 Kings where God sent lions among the new settlers in Samaria because they did not fear him. Could that be what this prehistoric emergence is? Humans getting too greedy and not fearing a higher power? The feed cuts back in and tells the viewer the Quetzalcoatlus and the T-Rexes have begun to migrate to other states. Naturally, the sales of firearms shoot sky high, but so does their price. Some citizens even decide to take matters into their own hands to take down some of these prehistoric animals. But it's been reported that T-Rexes can survive headshots. Due to the T-Rex having a relatively small brain and big skull, it has shown resilience to head trauma. Then suddenly, the news station shows us a mysteriously unique T-Rex, not like any of the others spotted thus far, having this black fur that runs from the back of its head all the way down its spine. Not knowing what to call this unique T-Rex, people have given it the horrifying nickname of the Daba. The name matches that of a creature mentioned in the religious text, the Quran. The Daba, also referred to as the beast of the earth, is a creature that is said to appear during the day of judgment. AZUN News leaves us with one final distressing report.
It has now been confirmed. The first apex predator has been spotted.
AZUN news broadcast begins once more. The first thing they note, though, is that they have noticed the interferences on their broadcasts, going out of their way to mention the bizarre statue that cut off their previous broadcast. They write it off as a cyber attack, but something feels off about it. In other news, GPAC has gained the assistance of global militaries. After this announcement, we get to see the apex predators that the previous episode warned us about. And oh boy, is this one dangerous. I'm just fucking with you, it's the Anomalocaris. So when the previous announcement said that the first apex predator has been spotted, they meant it in a very literal sense. The Anomalocaris is believed to be one of the first apex predators. Now these things would be terrifying if you were about the size of a shrimp. They mainly eat soft-bodied prey, and could not possibly crush human bones, and I'm inclined to believe they wouldn't even try. Just look at them. Now at the time that they existed, yeah, they were apex predators of their own ecosystem, but considering that it seems like every prehistoric animal is coming back, I think this guy might just lose his title. The broadcast says this is one of the few creatures to have a positive impact on the environment of the ocean. Apparently, the Anomalocaris does eat shipworms, which are known for fucking up a lot of wooden structures in the ocean. The Anomalocaris has been keeping these worms in check. Another animal that has come back that the station claims is also pretty helpful to the environment is the Camarasaurus, which is the closest an animal has gotten to being a real-life kraken. The Camarasaurus has kept the invasive green crab at bay ever since its emergence. While this animal is being introduced, once again the station experiences a glitch.
Humans have threatened.
A message in red text reads, "The Shellbearer Rising, the first sign of the true Leviathan's emergence." I hope that doesn't mean what I think it does. Then the broadcast shows another case of humans being a little bit too cocky. Similar to the woolly mammoth, humans began mass hunting the Anomalocaris and the Camarasaurus, so much to where it has actually become something in high demand for seafood restaurants.
Many fishermen have expressed interest in capturing these creatures. This could be an issue for we have soon.
Although many fishermen have begun to partake in this mass hunting, GPAC has yet to interfere. At this point in the series, you can start piecing together a few things, such as GPAC doesn't seem to care about the prehistoric animals that are more docile, instead choosing to go after the ones that are an immediate threat to human lives. Alongside that, it is getting a bit more clear that something more is at play here. With all the references and shit like that, it's about as subtle as a punch to the face. If these things are not cyber attacks on the station, it could imply that something supernatural is at play. We're shown body cam footage of someone walking down a dark trail in the snowy woods.
Eden 1, come in.
Eden 1, responding.
Do you have eyes on Eden 3?
Negative. Following Eden 3's trail.
Proceed with caution. The target's threat level is being re-evaluated. If spotted, do not engage it alone.
Affirmative.
Watching this body cam footage gave me this horrible feeling of dread. It is the first time in the series we are given a first-person view into this new world, and we are seeing it through the eyes of a guy in the middle of the woods at night, not using night vision, so something 1 mile away could probably see his flashlight, all the while not knowing for certain what is out there in the darkness. He's able to make it back to his car, but it seems his radio loses signal on the way back.
What's the status?
Now at the opening of the trail, he tries to contact others, telling them where he's at and that he is waiting for Eden Squad, but there is no response. So, in the meantime, he chooses to guard the path until the rest of his squad arrives. AZUN News goes on the air again and tells us what we could already kind of assume from the opening, which is that GPAC is forming specialized response units. The man in the opening named Eden 1 searching for someone else named Eden 3 were most definitely a part of these specialized units. Although I will say, if these are elite forces designed to handle prehistoric threats, maybe you should give them more than just a handgun. The news station then begins to read off statements from GPAC. Now, one of these quotes in particular caught my eye.
Due to their limited numbers, priority will be given to urban areas and regions with priority citizens.
Regions with priority citizens. Yeah, I wonder what the hell that means. In other news, there is this odd thing going on with a certain T-Rex in Laurel, Montana. It's been noted that it has not attacked any citizens, instead it just watches people. It turns out this is the same T-Rex we saw at the end of Season 1, Episode 3. This episode being titled Beast of the Earth makes me think we're going to learn a bit more about this guy. Now, although this dinosaur has not attacked any civilians, whenever GPAC did send squads to take it down, 2 perished in the process, referring to Eden 1 and Eden 3. According to GPAC, they were able to neutralize the Daba. The scrolling text on the bottom says the dinosaur looked like it began to evolve over time. GPAC has been quite busy over these past few episodes. Whenever the Quetzalcoatlus migrated west, it is stated by GPAC that they were able to take down damn near 20,000 of them, with minimal losses. However, the broadcast speaker for AZUN News sounds a bit skeptical. He notes that in the first week of that initiative, 987 soldiers lost their lives. Combine that with the economic inflation due to how much firepower is being used on the Azdarkadai, and it is clear GPAC is downplaying how many minimal losses actually occurred. And worst of all, the population of these things is surging, almost like there was never even an attempt to bring them down. Experts calculate that before this war against the Quetzalcoatlus ends, it would cost over $1 trillion US. And mind you, these aren't the only things that came back. Oh, and listen to this.
GPAC has introduced tariff exemptions for wealthy individuals and corporations that make significant financial contributions.
Then right after that line, that same statue of Quetzalcoatl slowly fades in at the top left corner. GPAC has told the public that cities like Washington, D.C., Buffalo, New York, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania are free from the Quetzalcoatlus. But there have been eyewitness reports of them either still being there or a different kind of pterosaur, or Azdarkadai for that matter, being in these states. Just then, we are also given, for the first time in this series, a on-the-ground live field report.
That's right. I'm standing here in sunny Buffalo, New York, and as of yet, no news on the elusive Pterosaurus. I've spoken to many locals and still have no reports to substantiate that they've migrated this far north. I'll update you as I get more information. Back to you. Leave the camera. Go, go, go!
We are then shown that the entire east coast of the United States is now experiencing a mass migration of Azdarkadai. But it seems that the ones that are prevalent are more resilient than the Quetzalcoatlus. Even more strange is that a large sum of them are migrating from places you would not expect, such as Romania. Going from Romania to the East Coast, what the fuck is he doing? There doesn't seem to be a reason as to why they're doing this, but regardless, it is a problem that GPAC might not be able to find an answer to. The broadcast then brings our attention back to the Toronto Zoo, telling us that apparently one of the zoo's staff members intentionally released the baby woolly mammoth, claiming that they were saving him. In wake of this, it is also revealed that the zoo was covering up a few things. Namely, their initial woolly mammoth did not die of tuberculosis. Instead, it is thought to be an unknown illness that took down the woolly mammoth. So, the zoo's shareholders covered up this fact to not lose sales or spread panic. But what they didn't expect is that this sickness would spread to many of the zookeepers, hospitalizing many of them. So there is a speculation to believe there is a zoonotic, prehistoric illness spreading around. I didn't even think of that as a concept for this series until now. Sicknesses we don't have treatments for because they did not exist when we existed. It's fucking terrifying. But some more terrifying news arises, such as France having an invasion of the Meganeura. In a brutal case of irony, these things massacre creatures meant to keep, well, insects in line. Due to their influx, tourism in France hits the floor, and France is en route to an economic crisis. Interestingly enough, GPAC makes a public announcement about this, stating that they're sending units with an experimental pesticide to eliminate insects of this caliber, ending with saying, rest assured that this crisis will soon be contained. The thing about this pesticide is that not only are its ingredients not publicly labeled, there's been no official report of it being a tested pesticide. It could actually be more dangerous to humans than it is to the bugs, but only time will tell. In other news, in Brazil, an odd tragedy has taken place. A 25-year-old woman named Camila Nascimento was found dead with wounds that paint a horrifying implication.
Lola! Lola! Do you want some treats?
The saber-toothed cats have re-emerged. Their emergence in Brazil is similar to that of all the previous ones, holes forming in the earth, but the difference here is that deep holes are forming in densely populated areas, in giant cities and small towns alike. The problem here is that GPAC prioritizes larger cities for protection, so areas that are more rural or lesser populated will not be protected by GPAC. So, when the people cannot rely on their protectors, they have to take matters into their own hands. But how? The gun market is shown to be through the roof, and the overall amount of weapons available to sell is extremely low. With no other options left, civilians are finding their only chance of defense is trusting the black market. Vulnerable and poor citizens are now relying on the cartel for protection instead of GPAC, thus empowering these organizations to grow stronger. Remember earlier how I said that GPAC would help people relocate if they were within 1 mile of the formations? Well, they stopped doing that, seemingly for budgetary reasons. An estimated 12,600 holes have formed all across the Earth. So I guess those close to the formations just gotta, I don't know, they probably might want to jump in at that point. With this barrage of horrible news finally coming to a pause, AZUNStudios says their goodbyes for now.
Stay prepared, and above all, stay safe.
This is Dr. Adrian Holloway, log entry 003. I asked why we were researching prehistoric creatures. They just told me not to ask. Earlier today, GPAC relocated my team to a U.S. military facility, one I will refer to as Paradise Ranch. We've been informed that live specimens including Quetzalcoatlus, Smilodon, and others are currently being held here. However, our team has been assigned to an entirely different subject. The creature on the news, the one the public is calling the, Daba, is currently being transported to this very facility. Our containment protocols are ready, but there is ongoing debate over its dietary requirements. This dinosaur we're researching, It's a scientific marvel. A true wonder of the world. I'm honestly not sure what to expect, but I somehow know my team and I won't be disappointed.
On day 1 of keeping this creature in the facility, Holloway says the creature is immensely fascinating. Unlike the other T-Rexes, this one has superior fleshy pads on its feet, similar to that of a cat, that are able to mask the sounds of its footsteps despite its gargantuan size. This being the reason why the soldier in the opening didn't notice it sneaking up on him until it was practically breathing on him. Its weight is 16,734 pounds, and it stands at 12.5 feet at the hip. They want to start running tests and experiments on it, but Holloway seems a bit empathetic to the creature, suggesting that they should wait until it gets adjusted to its new location to reduce its stress. 8 days later, Holloway now seems a bit perplexed. You can almost hear it in his voice that his palm is resting on his head. After running a few tests, the creature's age is somehow that of a juvenile, but it's the size of a full-grown T-Rex, meaning there's room for more growth. Yet strangely, nobody on the team has ever caught it sleeping at all, and sleep is very important for an animal's growth, yet this one has been awake for more than a week. According to Holloway, in order for this animal to be sedated and brought to this facility, it took 7.6 milligrams of carfentanil, a drug so potent that if a human took a microscopic amount of it, boom, that's it. And this fucker took damn near 8 milligrams of that. For what? A little nap? Holloway then goes on to describe the oddities with their electronics, saying things like monitors, lights, and even security cameras are being interfered with, almost like an outside force is doing it. As he starts mentioning this, the Daba, almost as if it can hear him, stares into the surveillance camera.
Can it? Is it looking at me?
What did you just fucking say? That is how episode 1 of season 2 ends. And this episode tosses a ton of things in your direction. Namely, G-Pack seems much weaker than initially thought. And this episode subtly confirms the Daba has the ability to interfere with technology in some form. Hence why that G-Pack soldier in the opening lost radio connection once he was close to it. And why Holloway explained all of the weird things happening around the facility. The one thing that is becoming more and more certain is that all of this, the emergence of these prehistoric animals, the glitches, the imagery, the so-called coincidences, are in no way something that is natural. In the description of this episode, a backwards text reads, "Us beyond those from message A." But not only was the sentence itself backwards, but so was the order of the words. It should actually read, "A message from those beyond us." Beneath that is a link to an unlisted YouTube video.
From the dawn of your trembling ascent, when you first clawed fire from the dark, we laid the beasts before you. Creatures of ancient flesh hidden in the earth's folds. We let them walk amongst you. Let them remind you of your smallness. We watched. And how did you greet them? With awe? With reverence? No. With stone and spear. You hunted them, carved them apart, wore their hides like stolen power. You did not kneel in deference to what had come before you. No, you slaughtered what we set upon your land. You were not meant to conquer the wild. You were meant to live within it. But instead, you grew into the sickness of dominion. A species that believes survival is its right and not its trial. But you are not without hope. there is one among you now, a witness. It has come from the abyss to which all things must return. A child, new and unstained, a vessel of pure sight. It will walk among you, see you as you are, not as you pretend to be. It will taste your kindness and your cruelty, weigh your greed against your mercy. It will see the hands that build and the hands that destroy. And when its time is done, it will return to us. It will tell us what it has seen. And we will decide.
I opened this video pretty much saying that humans are the strongest animal on Earth, but really, naturally, we were never meant to conquer. This video shows us that not only is the emergence something purely supernatural, but it is also viewed by whomever did it as something like a test for humanity. When I first saw this video, I noticed immediately that the speaker kept referring to itself as us and we. Furthermore, throughout the video, we see Quetzalcoatl's image on screen once again, but this time we're also shown the pictures of the Hindu god Shiva and the Egyptian god Sobek. We heard Shiva get referenced back in episode 2 of season 1 regarding the Vasuki Indicus, but this time it feels way more explicit. For those wondering, Shiva is typically referred to as the god of destruction, not viewed as a malicious action, but rather seen as something necessary, having a clean slate rid of all negative influences so newer and more positive things can be born. The line in the video that says, "It will see the hands that will build and destroy," seems like a direct reference to Shiva. While Sobek being shown here is his first sighting ever in the series, Sobek is a protective deity, the bringer of life, the protector of the innocent, the god of the Nile River. Also known to be a bit unpredictable in an almost chaotic manner driven by instinct. Based on my research, I've been able to conclude that these three gods at the very least have two things in common with each other. First thing I notice is that each god has some sort of reptile imagery. Quetzalcoatl being a feathered serpent, Shiva having a serpent around his neck, and Sobek having the head of a crocodile. The second thing I've noticed is that these three gods value life. They are all seen as positive and or protective deities, and the video is implying that despite that, they are still furious with humanity, but they're still giving humanity a second chance. In the video, the voice says they've sent a witness from the abyss, a child. This is very obviously in reference to the dinosaur referred to as the Daba, not only because it is still a juvenile, which is why it's referred to as a child, but also whenever it was spotted in Laurel, Montana, it was only seen watching other people. Something of note is that this thing's actual name is never clarified to be the Daba, so its real name is unknown in relation to these gods, but what we do know is what its purpose is: to be a messenger to these gods of how humanity is treating both it and the emergence. And since it's a juvenile, there is zero previous bias to humanity, and even then, it's not looking good for humans. Think about it. In this series, the first docile animal to re-emerge, the mammoth, was mass hunted for monetary gain. The Anomalocaris and the Camarasaurus were both mass hunted so much to the point they became something in high demand, and it's all because of personal gain. When an unknown virus took out a prehistoric animal and spread to humans, shareholders chose not to tell the public the truth so they could keep getting money. So right now it's looking pretty bad. At the end of the video, it mentions that when the messenger's time is done, it will return to them and they will decide, implying that even though it is in a facility in a cage, it does have the capability to return to the gods or even break out. And once it does, the gods will most likely decide if humanity deserves a second chance based on what the Daba has seen from us. As of right now, in this story, in this series, the Earth is heading straight towards an unavoidable judgment. Now, there is one discrepancy about this video that's kind of been gnawing at me a little bit, and it's the fact that it was posted on April Fool's Day. Granted, it was never clarified that this was an April Fool's joke, so it can't be. That's the rule. This episode opens by directly telling us that in Calgary, Alberta, there have been no emergencies reported. Even with all the crazy shit going on, some people out there are living life as normal. Good example is the man that we're following in this video is a guy named Jason, who is getting ready to go and party with the boys. But his plans are interrupted when he gets a phone call from his mom. Ben, who I assume is Jason's brother, has been missing for 4 hours and has not responded to anybody contacting him. His mom tells him Ben was last seen at Glen Park, a place that Jason says is half an hour away from where he is at, so it would put quite a dent in his plans to hang out with his buddies. But his mom is adamant that he goes over to check on Ben to see where he is and if he is okay. Despite the lack of a prehistoric emergence in their location, anything could have happened to Ben. I mean, hell, he could have gotten robbed and then beaten up for all we know. Jason then hangs up the phone and goes to call Ben one time to make sure for certain that he has to go and travel half an hour away to check on him.
Your call has been forwarded to an
God
automatic
damn it,
voice
Ben.
message system.
You better be dead or dying.
By the time Jason gets to Glen Park, it is much darker outside, the park lights being the only thing Jason can effectively use to see anything. He calls out for Ben, but he does not get an answer. He moves further to a bridge that is either inside of the park or around the park. As he makes his way across this bridge, there is a noticeable lack of cars in the area. Suddenly, out of the darkness, he hears Ben's ringtone. For the record, you've got to be out of your skull to use that as your ringtone. Jason runs to where he last heard Ben's phone, heading down the embankment from the bridge. By the time he makes it down to the river, he doesn't locate Ben's phone, but he does find what is left of Ben. Jason cannot believe his eyes as he falls to the ground in shock and grief. Immediately after hearing this, Jason starts blindly running as fast as he can up the embankment with little to no direction. It's clear he did not retrace his steps back to the bridge. By the time he clears the embankment, he is very out of breath, and as he goes to look back towards the bridge, not entirely sure how, but Jason survives momentarily enough to stand back up and hobble over to a rock. Bleeding profusely, he lifts his head back up and spots a whole pack of dire wolves. It's the things from Game of Thrones. Okay, well, they're not from Game of Thrones, but they're in Game of Thrones. And just like that, the video ends. This is becoming a common occurrence. It's another instance of a prehistoric animal that nobody knew came back, but right whenever someone did find out, it was too late for them. It seems that Calgary, Alberta does have some emergencies, it's just nobody lived long enough to report them. The character we follow in this video is a YouTuber, a woman who goes by the online alias Dino Chaser. Think of something like a storm chaser, just somehow more fucking stupid. She likes getting up and close to cases of the prehistoric emergence. Dino Chaser gets word that a dinosaur referred to as the Behemoth has been spotted in Argentina, although the only real evidence of it existing are broken trees and footprints. Dino Chaser wants to be the first person to ever photograph photograph the behemoth. So she booked a flight to Chaco province, where most reports of the behemoth originated from. The video then cuts to her being there. She discusses the future of her channel, suggesting her next video to be about prehistoric animals in the ocean. She then tells the viewer that she has ordered scuba gear and will be making a video regarding these underwater animals, implying she doesn't even know how to scuba dive, and she wants to learn now that these things are in the ocean. It's evident that Dino Chaser is very ambitious. At this point of the recording, she tells us that she has been searching for 5 hours prior to hitting record with no luck. The camera then cuts out, and when it's brought back, it's clear she has left the trail she was walking on and is now wandering out in the open. Now, it might seem a bit foolish, but because of this, she does eventually find something distinct. A mountain of shit. It's a gross discovery, yet it is one that can point to something larger than life being present somewhere nearby. She contemplates her findings as she has found her way to an old sidewalk of some kind. Something to take note of as she is gathering her thoughts is her saying this.
I saw bits of leaves and grass, leading me to believe I'm chasing an herbivore, so I shouldn't be in any danger.
Just when she has pieced all of her theories together, she spots the behemoth, turning out to be the Argentinosaurus, speculated to be one of the biggest land animals to ever exist. Now, a photograph from this distance would have made the news. There is no need to get any closer to this titan. Yet Dino Chaser has a very different idea. The video then cuts, and then when it's brought back, she is now much closer, and gets an even greater photo op that would have had many people marveling over it. But as she puts it,
I need to get a closer look.
the video then stops recording for a couple seconds, and when she hits record again, it shows her standing practically next to the dinosaur. Any closer and she'll be holding its fucking hand. To give her credit, this is a phenomenal photo opportunity. However,
holy shit. Oh my god!
she got too close. Although she was correct in her assumption, the Argentinosaurus is a herbivore, unfortunately for Dino Chaser, she had the flawed mentality of thinking that just because an animal is a herbivore, that it would be docile and friendly. Now, it might seem a bit biased for a flower to say that herbivores can be dangerous, but listen, elephants and hippos are statistically some of the most dangerous land mammals to humans. And those are modern day herbivores. I couldn't imagine how devastating prehistoric herbivores were. Well, I mean, I guess I can imagine. The description gives us a bit more insight into who Dino Chaser was. The description of this video reads, "Welcome to the channel. I'm Dino Chaser. I scour the earth for beasts time itself forgot. You might have caught the clip where I smuggled Titan boa eggs out of the Amazon. Yeah, you were out of your fucking mind. Or the video of a megalania lunging at me, which made 10 million jaws drop online. But none of that compares to what's about to happen. Join me as I embark on my most ambitious expedition yet." Just as much as Dino Chaser was chasing prehistoric animals, she was also chasing the views. And she knew high stakes are what people liked to see. 10 million views, that's pretty hard to come by. So, she pushed her luck in order to hit big again, and she unfortunately paid the price for being too risky. The final episode of Season 2 opens in a very distinct way. It shows a man filming as he reviews what he calls his latest prehistoric delicacy, Camarasaurus calamari. It's very obvious that he's filming some sort of commercial, as he explains the nutritional value of them and then says,
"It is worth noting that this has been deeply frozen to eliminate bacteria, making it safe to eat."
"Oh, well, ain't that swell? Surely there's no prehistoric bacteria that resists cold or something." "Well, I sure as hell hope he is able to clean them, because they are worth $60 each." He then says,
"Now, if you guys show this video some love and it gets 50 likes, I'll be showcasing something even more exotic. Anomalocaris Tempura.
Recognized. Front door opening.
He suddenly gets an alert from his Alexa home device that his front door is open. The man does not live alone. He has a spouse named Jess and his kid, Leo, but there were still some things that were odd about it. Namely, it's really late at night, and I'd assume that everyone else besides him is in bed. He gets up from his seat and tells Alexa to turn off the music as he goes to investigate. He makes his way to the entrance of his house, and yeah, the front door is definitely open. He calls out for Jess before going over and closing the door. Right after he does this, he hears a noise from upstairs.
Leo! What the?
Front door opening.
Jess? What's going on?
The dinosaur mimicked Jess's voice. The Alexa must have recognized her voice and opened the door. After that fucking terrifying scene, it cuts to a man whose face we can't see, driving down a neighborhood. A voice, which is only referred to as High Command, speaks on a radio and addresses the man driving as Private Gray. High Command gives out the details that many people in the Shadow Valley neighborhood in Weber County have gone missing. The reason they're sending specialized GPAC soldiers for missing persons reports is one of two reasons. The first reason is that one of the remains of a missing person were found, and the dental marks on the body did not match anything in their current records. The second reason is because a senator's granddaughter, Miss Hills, lives in the neighborhood, and according to High Command, that senator backs legislation that benefits GPAC, so they have to look out for him and his family, I guess. The granddaughter has already been evacuated, so Private Gray is riding up to the granddaughter's residence, meeting up with a field tech named Patch. They are both tasked with taking down whatever is making people go missing.
Private Gray, right?
As High Command briefed you.
Basic rundown. It's just good to finally get field action.
Before we proceed, I'm going to need to review the victim's autopsy report and scene documentation. Do you have them?
They're on my laptop. Didn't look yet myself. Kinda want to be surprised by whatever this creature turns out to be.
Trust me. You don't.
They review the autopsy report on the laptop and exchange a few words, enough to reveal the crux of each other's character. Patch seems like a very cocky guy who kinda shit talks, poking fun at Private Gray for only being a private, which is ironic because Patch is a field tech, while Private Gray is more stone cold and serious, saying he trains beyond what most other soldiers in GPAC do, taking time to learn about the anatomy and behavior of the prehistoric animals they're eliminating. Yet it seems he still isn't able to exactly identify what is making people go missing. Regarding the autopsy, it says this animal was able to break into a locked up home, something nothing else has been reported doing. Well, Sabretooth didn't break into a home, she left the fucking door open. Before the sun sets and it gets really dangerous, Patch and Gray head out to search for anything that could point them in the direction of identifying this thing. Patch and Gray continue to talk. It seems Patch actually wants to become something more than a field tech guy, constantly asking Private Gray if his other ops were just looking around for something with little to no action. Gray then gets real serious and tells Patch about a situation he was in, where he and a team were sent to eliminate a Quetzalcoatlus perched on a high school, this high school being named Palmer Ridge. Despite the school being on lockdown, one kid named Aiden Lewis was skipping class and got caught out in the open. The Quetzalcoatlus noticed the kid hiding and flew after him. GPAC soldiers were ordered to not fire, but one of the soldiers did not listen. They were able to take down the Quetzalcoatlus, but a stray bullet hit the student and he died not 2 minutes later. GPAC has since been in a legal battle over it. Gray finishes off the story by saying something ominous as hell.
We're not here to protect the people. We're here to impress the senator.
Patch then lowers his tone and stops trying to pry at Gray. Bringing the attention back to the search, they do end up finding a bloody handprint on a tree, which Private Gray touches with his bare fucking hands before Gray pulls out his weapon and tells Patch to keep his guard up. "38 minutes go by, and they told High Command they were not able to find it. High Command responds by telling them to keep 24/7 surveillance on the cameras Patch put up, and to not leave until it is located.
It's crucial that we provide the Senator some reassurance. Maintain 24/7 surveillance until the target is located.
Understood, High Command.
Is he serious? 24/7 surveillance?
This is the job, Patch.
One day goes by, and still nothing has shown up on the surveillance. High Command actually gets a bit pissed here, and says,
"A day of surveillance and 0 leads is unacceptable. I'm losing confidence in your ability to see this operation through. Patrol the forestry and double your surveillance coverage."
Patch is ready to comply, but Gray interjects.
"Understood,
Give
sir."
wide coverage of the area. What you're suggesting would cost us unnecessary resources. If the target is in the area, we'll find it. Efficiently.
You have 6 hours. Don't disappoint me, Gray.
A little over 1 hour later, and they finally get some motion detected. But by the time they look at the feed, nothing is moving anymore. It just shows a deceased pack of direwolves. Gray decides, since this confirms something was here recently, that he should go out there and investigate. But he tells Patch to stay on the feed. Patch does not like that idea at all, but Gray shuts down any opportunity for Patch to come with. Gray updates High Command and is told,
"Investigate immediately. I want you in full tactical gear. We're not taking any risks."
Gray leaves, and then Patch, shortly after, goes behind his back and calls High Command for clearance on joining Gray in the field.
"High Command, permission to assist Gray in neutralizing the target. He's out there alone. It's too much of a risk."
"You're a field tech, Patch. Keep your eyes on the feed. I've got a strike team 19 minutes from the target's location. Gray will have backup."
"We can't afford to wait 19 minutes. If we want this operation to succeed, we have to move faster than the target."
Somehow, he is able to convince High Command to join Gray.
"Permission granted. Proceed with caution."
So he runs out there in the borderline darkness until he spots Gray's flashlight, and Gray is just thrilled to be joined by Patch.
What the fuck are you doing here?
Thankfully, Patch came armed, so Gray isn't too upset, I guess. Now that they're grouped up, they both begin searching through the woods. Not much happens for the next minute. They're surrounded by trees and darkness, and the only sounds you can really hear are them slowly walking around and a very distant ambulance siren, which gives off such a weird feeling, like another person out there is so close, yet so far. This continues until Patch spots a baby Triceratops. Coincidentally, the High Command asks for an update right whenever they see it. Gray tries to sidestep the fact that they've found a little Triceratops, but Patch straight up tells High Command. High Command, wanting to impress the Senator and show off that they can take down prehistoric animals, wants Patch and Gray to execute the baby Triceratops. Gray tries to protest this by saying it's a pretty much useless kill that doesn't really prove anything, and then High Command starts yelling into his radio.
"Execute the creature or both of you will be discharged!"
G-Pack is much more pathetic than they let out. What Gray said earlier about G-Pack wanting to impress the Senator is way more of a fact than an opinion. Gray stares down at the baby Triceratops, contemplating what his next action is going to be. Patch and Gray are now separated, and it's clear that Patch is regretting not staying back at the house. As he's trying to compose himself, he hears this noise from the woods.
I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. What the fuck?
You can't really hear it that well in the video, but in the subtitles for the YouTube video, it's saying his name. Thankfully, before whatever was about to happen just then, Gray finds Patch and tells him in the chaos that happened earlier, he managed to take down the Triceratops' mother. But you can tell that he really did not want to do that, but he had no choice. They begin marching back to the direction of the house, with this really cool shot of them stepping on the G-Pack logo. Gray informs High Command of the Triceratops incident, and he has this to say.
Well done, Gray. This should keep the Senator very satisfied. And given your patrol of the region, we can conclude the target is no longer in the area. Pack it up. We're done here.
But clearly the threat is still in the area. That noise Patch heard when he was alone was something trying to mimic Gray's voice, but failing, resulting in this really garbled sound. And I think the reason for that is because Private Gray doesn't say Patch's name all that much, whereas Jess in the opening probably said, "Hey Alexa, open the door," enough to where the dinosaur could mimic it almost perfectly. But Patch didn't tell High Command or Private Gray about what he heard. So, the two men head back to the house, ready to leave, not even getting rid of whatever the true threat was. However, right whenever they get back, Patch decides it's a good time to have a drink. He and Gray get to learn a bit more about each other.
I went to school for mechanical engineering. Graduated, got the job, did everything right. But I never felt it. Purpose. Then all this happened. The world just broke. People losing homes, losing loved ones. Everyone seemed a little more united, you know? Once I heard that G-Pack was recruiting, I thought maybe this was it. It's corny, but I really thought I could help save the world. I'm not so sure anymore. This last mission, I was so scared, I panicked.
I understand, Patch.
Now that Patch has practically told him his life story, he'd like to know Gray's. He asks him why he joined G-Pack, and Gray's reluctant at first, but eventually he explains why he is here.
Okay. I was there when it happened. The massacre. I lost someone important to me that day. Joining G-Pack. It's been my penance.
What was their name?
Max.
What were they like?
He couldn't take anything seriously. A real jackass, too. But I miss him.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It's alright. It was nice meeting you, Patch.
Yeah. Likewise.
Two weeks have gone by, and it seems that Patch and Gray are seemingly still tagged along with each other. Everything seems fine. There's people outside playing in the neighborhood street, and Patch and Gray seem to just be chillin', when suddenly they get a call from High Command. High Command then tells the two that they have to go back to the house. Since GPAC foolishly labeled the area clear, the granddaughter of the senator moved back into the house. And what do you know? She's been missing for the past 24 hours. According to a neighbor, they heard a child in the woods screaming for help, and the granddaughter went to go help the kid, but hasn't been seen since. Over the past 2 weeks, that thing in the woods must have learned what sounds get humans to approach. Patch and Gray have to go back and make sure that she leaves unharmed.
You two were responsible for confirming the area to be clear of all threats.
High Command is blaming these two for his fuck-up. High Command concluded the target was not in the area anymore.
Tell me, Gray, do you believe in God?
I do.
Pray to your God that this operation goes your way.
They go back, gear up again, and pretty much blindly march into the woods. The only benefit here is that it is not dark outside.
We're coming!
Patch and Gray run towards the cries of Miss Hills, but when they get there, they don't find her. Well, at least not all of her. Yet they keep hearing her cries again and again in the distance.
That's not...
Realizing that they're the ones being hunted freaks the hell out of Patch, and he starts having a panic attack. Gray grabs him and tells him
Get a fucking grip of yourself, Patch.
Which, yeah, that should work. And they make up a plan to stay exactly where they are, and if they see it, to open fire. Patch is now missing. It then shows a point of view shot of one of the dinosaurs, confirming that Gray was able to take down at least one of them. Then Gray is heard speaking into his radio in the distance.
Come in. Gray. Gray, do you copy?
Gray is actually doing something very smart here. Instead of saying Patch's name, he's saying his own name. So if Patch is still out there somewhere, these things will not be able to mimic Gray's voice calling out for Patch. Gray continues to do this until the dinosaur gets really close to where Patch's radio is, leaving a perfect opportunity for Gray to...
Patch is MIA. I'm down to my last bullet. I need backup.
Acknowledged. Continue your search for Miss Hills. Backup is nearby.
Fuck.
Private Gray stops looking for Miss Hills, and instead starts searching for Patch.
High Command. Update Aaron Singh's status to KIA. Requesting a recovery team.
We don't have time. The priority is mid.
That is how the episode ends. In the credits, the High Command gives a debriefing of the whole event, saying the dinosaurs they encountered were the Utah Raptors, and that Patch, also known as Aaron Singh, did not make it. Gray, on the other hand, somehow survived his encounter with the Utah Raptor, meaning he won using a combat knife. What? High Command then says they never found the Senator's daughter, thus causing the Senator to stop aiding and supporting GPAC, this being the straw that broke the camel's back. GPAC has been failing a lot, from the Azdarkadai or Quetzalcoatlus War to Palmer Ridge to the Shadow Valley neighborhood, and High Command also mentions that they failed France, implying the bug spray they tried using back in episode 1 of season 2 was either not significant enough or a backfire. Over 2 seasons, GPAC has accomplished nothing. They try to protect the rich, and they fail. They try to start a war when they can barely hold their ground. They try and try to succeed, but they just keep fucking failing. GPAC is not looking good. If legislation, funding, and success is just no longer in their favor, they are going to be done for. Unless they're able to initiate a draft. Any citizens eligible will be drafted into GPAC. The exemption list pretty much says if you are able-bodied and broke, guess where you're going. Yeah, you can escape the draft if you have $1 million to give to GPAC. It's pretty interesting. High Command then says this.
Lead scientist Adrian Holloway has discovered something unnatural. I will assess whether it has any strategic use. High Command, out.
I cannot wait to see how that's gonna turn out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first 2 seasons of Prehistoric Emergence. And it is also where I would like to stop my coverage for now. Season 3 is in the works right now and already has 3 episodes out at the time of making this video. And I would love to cover it right fucking now, but I'm doing this, cute thing called maybe try and not make all my fucking videos over an hour long. And it looks like I failed that mission, but hey, you're still here, man. That's what I'm talking about. If you'd like for me to cover Season 3, Season 4, however many more this series is looking to create, let me know in the comments section down below, and I will gladly do so. But before then, let me say my piece on this series as a whole. I will admit, whenever the series was first beginning, I found slight interest in it, but not enough to make a whole video on it. With full sincerity, the main reason I am making this video is because of Season 2. The jump in quality from the first season to the second season is insane. But here's the thing. I feel as if Season 2 is as good as it is because of all of the feedback and criticism that Season 1 got. Whenever Prehistoric Emergence first began, it did receive a decent bit of feedback, although this feedback was not always positive, namely because of the classic, almost cliche analog horror tropes of creepy TTS voice on an EAS alert, which is primarily just a slideshow with some text on screen, but even then sometimes the text is misspelled. You're left with a decent bit of things to critique about the series, including one main thing that you, and possibly many others, have noticed is that a decent chunk of the visuals in Season 1 are enhanced or generated using artificial intelligence. The credits and the description of some episodes citing pre-existing photos that were put into a software that turns them into AI-generated videos, as well as was using other AI generation softwares for images like the woolly mammoth. And that's definitely one of the worst offenders. You could have your optic nerve severed, and you would still be able to tell it was made with AI. And thankfully, whenever people did begin to critique the series for these things, AZUNStudios actually listened to the concerned fans. You all saw for yourself just how amazing this series has evolved. It went from utilizing AI in its creative process to having a full team of voice actors and animators, and even actors, all working together to make this series come to light. Season 1 is definitely the weakest part of the series, but at the very least, it serves its purpose. It is just an introduction to the prehistoric emergence. Season 1 is something you need to watch in order to see Season 2. If you just dropped into episode 1 of Season 2, you'd be like, okay, what the fuck is happening? I just wish it was handled better. What I will say is what they lacked in Season 1, they made up for in Season 2. Them spicing it up by making the series go from the EAS slideshow stuff to having acted out scenes with characters that we could actually follow around and get to know a bit it was a very good choice on their part, because it made this series all the more interesting. Seeing through the eyes of somebody who is living through this reality where these prehistoric animals are coming back is so fascinating. And what is equally as fascinating is the lore and world building we are getting. The idea that the prehistoric emergence was something supernatural was to be expected, but handled in a way that I thought was unique. Having a bunch of gods from different religions seemingly band together to punish humanity for their wrongdoings is very intriguing, but it also builds this layer of mystery. Because mind you, not that many people have seen this unlisted secret episode of Prehistoric Emergence. There is most likely some people out there who have watched this series but knew nothing about this. Moving on, in my opinion, I think this series does pretty good at prompting discussions. The existence of GPAC has made so many discussions ignite in the comment section. I've seen people side with GPAC, and I've seen people go against what GPAC is doing. Some people being sympathetic to the prehistoric animals, and some people not doing that. Talking to each other about GPAC like it's an actual thing. That is something special, that you've kickstarted that much discussion about a fictional government entity. I'm rambling a little bit, so I think it's about time I get to my main point. This series, although it is not completed yet, I feel as if it is going to be something very special. There's so many analog horror series out there where I'm just like, yeah, it's an interesting concept, but I don't care for it enough to make a video on it. And then this came along and I was like, holy shit, I would love to cover this for my audience. I know one could argue that this is technically not analog horror, but I don't know, talk to me, comment it down below. And I want to make sure that everybody watching this video goes and shows support to AZUNStudios. I just cannot wait to see where this story goes. With how the lore is looking right now, it seems like it's gearing up towards a pretty dark ending, but hey, who's to say? Thank you all so much for watching this video. Took a bit longer than usual to release. I mean, shit happens. I was down for a while, but hey, I'm standing now. If you liked it though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to show support to my channel. And check out the second channel as well, right? And be sure to comment down below your thoughts on this video. If I got anything incorrect or if I mispronounced anything, let me know that as well. And as always, I will see all of you in the next video.